Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm Zemo, the dad in DPS, and we are back once again with another episode of The Good, The Scrap, and The Scrap, a series where I review weapons I've found in Appalachia and see how well they do. And yeah, another explosive energy weapon for us today, and one of my favourite ones in the game, and we'll definitely get to see how well this thing does against the enemies that we go up against. But before we do, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Now, for followers of the channel that have watched for a long while, you'll recognise this weapon. This is Abra Kablastia. However, this used to be two-shot damage while aiming action point cost. Now it is two-shot explosive action point cost. With the new patch, I have popped explosive on there. This was an incredibly good weapon last time we used it, so I expect it to be incredibly good this time. But the question remains, how good is it going to be? Either way, I'll show you the build again. So this is the build we're currently using. We're obviously using all the usual heavy build perks, but we are also using some critical and some VATS related stuff here in order to try and get the most out of the fact that this weapon does work quite well in VATS. So yeah, that is that. So, when it comes to the Plasma Caster, I've always been a big fan of the two-shot variant. You're seeing here that we're doing some decent damage, but, you know, with VATS it can be really hit or miss whether you hit those headshots. And this is the kind of thing that you need to kind of try and ensure with this. It's very easy to aim it manually, and you're seeing the damage that we're getting off the explosions is actually not bad, 72. So the damage we're getting out of this is you know, not too bad at all. Some enemies obviously less so, but I think it just depends. Then if we try and get the VATS crits in there, we will potentially do some damage with it. Heavy weapons aren't exactly specialised for going into VATS, but this weapon can, to an extent, utilise it. I much prefer manually aiming it, but I always like to try and play weapons to their strings in different ways. If I was spamming coffee using a bunch of other stuff, it would be a lot more viable. But I feel like the accuracy just isn't good enough. But that's because I don't have a lot of perception on this character, because typically with, you know, heavy builds, you're not going to run it. But I think if you were to make a build specifically around that kind of archetype, you'd probably get more out of this. So if I dumped like a load of points in perception, you're seeing from shooting things, you know, things go down relatively quickly. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're going down. I feel like they're going down overly quicker than they used to when I use this weapon. I think it's a minor upgrade rather than a major one. It's one of those kind of things where it's quite difficult to figure that out when you are using so many weapons and maybe using them differently. I'm kinda like, you know, that way where I wish I could say that I was like, this is the most amazing DPS I've ever seen from anything. It isn't. It's pretty much what I expect from a Plasma Caster. So it's kinda disappointing isn't the right word. It's kinda what I expected to be seeing damage-wise. It's just a little bit extra DPS, a little bit of AoE. You know, it is certainly going to be helping, but it's not like the groundbreaking heaven and earth type thing. You know, it's very much a case of I expected the damage it's doing, and I'm not that upset, but I'm also not that like excited or impressed by it in comparison. Now that's not to say on like a bloodied version of the weapon that you wouldn't get more out of it, but it certainly doesn't seem like it's, you know, overly ridiculous. I'm not too what's the word? I'm really just not that like shocked by it. I'm not shocked one way or the other. It just, yeah, it's kinda what it is. And now we bring the weapon to Jeff. And when it comes to Jeff, I mean, you know what we do to him. We just shoot him in the face and let that go where it lies. Now let's get some VATS hits in, try and get some crit damage in. And you're seeing like we can do some decent damage to Jeff. He'll go down relatively quick, though that hasn't changed. But I just feel like it's not added much to the weapon in terms of the difference between that and the 25 damage while aiming. It kind of feels very samey. Alrighty, somebody's already woken up the Scorch, not Scorch Beast Queen, the Marlock Queen. So we're gonna lay into her, see what we can do. Now, against her, you're seeing like the damage isn't exactly massive, but it is certainly working. It is certainly taking her down. And it will just be a case of just keep firing and you'll eventually get there. Just all her little boyfriends are getting in the way of me murdering her. Which, I mean, they should do, but it is slightly annoying at the same time. But you're saying she's going down. It's just a matter of... I think there probably would be... Anti-armor would probably work better in this circumstance. I just don't feel like I'm getting the full benefit out of the two-shot effect with explosive. It feels very similar... Oh, I went down. Feels very similar to when I was using it with the damage while aiming effect. I'll be brutally honest. And as usual, we come to expeditions to test this baby out. Now, again, I'm in no way, shape or form am I saying this is a bad weapon. I think it'll fall down to personal preference. I think this does much of a muchness as it did when this weapon was damage while aiming. Like, it feels like the damage is the same. Obviously, if I'm shooting into large groups of enemies, the damage is different because we're going to be doing 20% extra damage to everything. But when it comes to just your single target damage, it feels very much the same as it was prior to that. And this is the kind of slightly disappointing thing. I kind of hope it would feel a little bit more impressive, a little bit more spectacular. And I suppose that's just me hyping up in my head explosive damage more than it rightly deserves. But you're seeing, like, it kills these enemies really easily. You get your ammo back in absolute droves. It is not bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just my own slight disappointment at, you know, it not being more spectacular. You know, it's one of those things. Two-shot explosive is one of my favourite combo effects, and I build it up in my head more than it needs to be. You see, like, against regular humanoid enemies, you just completely obliterate them, like Exodia. They just don't stand a chance against this, and it comes down to your own personal aiming. If you're going to use it in VATS, come on, stop reloading. You know, that will completely implode their brain. Overall, yeah, it's a very good weapon. If you get the combination effect, then great. But I will say that if you get damage while aiming instead, I don't think it's an overall loss for you. I think it's going to feel much of the same, just less so in the sense of its AoE capabilities. But for a weapon with such a slow fire rate, I suppose that's not really that bad either, is it? It's just one of those things where, yeah, I piped it up too much in my head, and slightly disappointed, but honestly, it is still dealing good damage. So yeah, that was today's video. Now, when it comes to this weapon, I would definitely say that if you can get it, use it. It is a great weapon, it's very good at what it does, but obviously, for me, it's just, there's the little feeling of disappointment. It's not that the weapon's bad, it's just that it's not working the way I kind of envisioned it and built up in my head. And that is sometimes a factor when it comes to everything. Sometimes you think something's going to be better than it actually is, and then you're a little bit disappointed, even though it's not bad. Either way, guys, if there is any weapons or stuff you'd like me to review, definitely leave a link down below in the comments. But I'll catch you all next time in the wasteland. Also, like, comment, subscribe.
Pop open, it's a nuclear pop. Stabbing and swooping wild like a lock. Testing weapons, bang bang sparks. Radiation hum high and glowing stock. Swinging in down Appalachia Trail. Mothman legend cocktails prevail. Strip for the traders, scrap on sale. Building forts, raiders on our tail. Oh, the good, the scrap and the screep. Wandering wasteland, loose on the lip. Barter and hustle ain't just a quip. Survivors dance, got a weapon on the hip. Oh, the good, the scrap and the screed. Wandering wasteland, loose on the lip. Barter and hustle ain't just a quip. Survivors dance, got a weapon on the hip. Crafting stations, tinker's delight. Fixing shotguns, new rifles tight. Ghouls round the corner, gotta fight. Day turns to night, it'll flash so bright.